What's going on, everybody? It's EricRayweather back here, and in today's video we're going to be going over a slight new update that Madden 20 just got today. Not a big update or anything crazy, but there is kind of something cool going on in the game that is new, so we're going to get into that in a little bit. Going to also talk about some things you can expect in the upcoming update, which we would probably see sometime late next week after the holidays. We did get an update last week, so usually every 2 weeks they put out a new title update, so we'll talk about some possible things that could be coming in that update. Also, a little bit of a preview to the roster update coming later this week, something that is for sure to happen and definitely something I want to talk about. So quite a few things to get into today. If you are new to the channel as always and you want to stay up to date on all the latest Madden news, tips and tricks, things like that, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon so that you don't miss any of these important uploads. So let's get into today. What changed with Madden 20 today? What update did we get? Well, they put out a little bit of a blog here we're going to go over. So the Superstar KO mode, the producer JP Kellums, he put out a blog here saying that they did some updates to the Superstar KO mode, kind of something they wanted to test out, something that looks pretty cool and fun. He said, as we mentioned when we launched the Superstar KO mode, we feel it is a constantly updating live service that we are building together with you. Since launch, we've seen your passion for the mode and we've done our best to give you new teams, new superstar icons and legends, and even a visual overhaul for the stadium and things of that nature. So the Superstar KO mode, as most of you know, is like the arcade game mode inside of Madden, where you kind of have it's kind of like a mix between NFL Street but also kind of like Ultimate Team at the same time. You draft a few players, you have limited playbooks based on the theme of the team that you pick, and you know, it's kind of like it's a little fun game. Obviously all the superstar players have their X factors activated and things of that nature. So what they did today in the mode, it said what they said here is Superstar KO is our testing ground for new gameplay concepts. Just like it was built on the foundation of the house rules work we did in Madden 19, we're using the KO mode as a home for some fun ideas we are working on. For Thanksgiving week, we want to thank you for the awesome support and show you an idea we have for Tug of War. Our goal is to get your feedback and use this information, to kind of inform changes as they go forward. So here is kind of what they're doing. It says, we've not kept our influence from Battle Royale games a secret, so when we decided to iterate on Tug of War, the circle from BR games felt like a natural choice. Here is how it works. Each team receives 5 plays, taking turns changing possession each play. After each set of plays, the end zone expands 10 yards, signified by a green expanding overlay on the field. First team to score wins. If the ball is on the 50-yard line after 5 set of plays, the end zone swallows the entire field and it is a double KO. So, as you can see here, basically what happens is, in regular Tug of War rules for Superstar KO, or even if you played NCAA games, you've played this, you get a certain set amount of plays and each team alternates. I go one play, you go the next play. So if I gain 10 yards on my first play and you only gain 5 yards on your first play, I'm up by 5 yards basically. And what ends the game is either one of us has to score or whoever has the most yards, whoever's closest to the end zone at the end of the set amount of plays wins. But what they're doing here is expanding on it and making it to where after each set of plays, the end zone grows. So at a certain point, you might only, the end zone might be all the way up to the 40-yard line if you've only moved the ball a few yards in your first few plays, and then you might only have to get to the 40-yard line to score. And it's the same for both sides because it's going to expand on both sides of the field. So they're kind of just throwing a new rule, a new concept in there to see how people like it. It says, as you can tell, when the end zone moves, it creates a bunch of interesting football situations that we've never encountered before. We've made some choices about these, as you must actually do something to win that might cause some interesting discussions and differences of opinion. So basically, if the end zone gets so far and you're like already inside of the end zone area at the next snap of your play, you just have to pretty much snap the ball to win. But let's say like you're in a shotgun play and your QB is outside of the expanded end zone, you have to kind of break that end zone plane to win. So it could be something interesting here. It says the expanding end zones will be available until Monday, December 2nd at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So kind of just something new they did, a little twist on the Superstar KO mode. Something I kind of hope they do things like this going forward, having like those special weeks where they just throw like a whole new set of rules into the Superstar KO mode, because that's what kind of keeps it fun and interesting. It's something that could get old if you play it for a while, but if you keep updating the rules and having these little events maybe every other week or something like that, kind of keeps it a little more interesting. So I know house rules, I think the community's kind of split on it. I think a lot of people love it, and a lot of people just simply, not that they hate it, they don't really care for it, which is, I think, it kind of depends on which side you fall on, right? Because, you know, if you're a franchise player or even just an online player, a lot of people like to play the game from the sim perspective that Madden is supposed to be. And yes, you know, Madden isn't the most sim football game ever made. There's a lot of things gameplay-wise that obviously need to be better, but the idea of it is to play by real football rules and to have some type of a sim football experience. But what Superstar KO mode is just an all-out arcade mode within Madden. And I think there's room for both to exist, because most people that are even sim football fans, they love NFL Street and they want NFL Street back. And this is something somewhat similar to it that could grow into, you know, something more like NFL Street over time. So I think there's room for both to exist. I just think that if you fall more on the sim side of the community, you probably want other things fixed or addressed before, you know, an arcade mode is built out. So I get both sides of it, but I do think it's something fun for the game. Now, looking ahead to the next update. So first, the roster update this week. You can definitely be expecting Lamar Jackson to go up, probably multiple points. The reason being is because before the Monday night game, Michael Vick actually was on Twitter, and he announced that he was an honorary or a guest ratings adjuster for the week, which is something EA does. They'll bring in like a former player to be a ratings adjuster for a particular team. So obviously for the Ravens game, you know, he was keyed in on Lamar Jackson. Obviously you're going to pick Michael Vick to be that ratings adjuster, because before Lamar Jackson, he was the most dangerous running QB ever. So it just made sense. And the fact that Lamar Jackson just put up arguably his best game of the year, and the Ravens completely rolled over the Rams. Lamar Jackson's going up this week. He might even go, he's at 87 right now. He might just jump up to a 90. I could see that happening, but he's definitely going to jump up because they made a big emphasis on it, and he delivered probably bigger than anybody expected him to deliver. I mean, this was an amazing game, and it probably put him clearly in the lead for the MVP as well. So expect Lamar Jackson to get a decent boost this week. In terms of the next update, gameplay-wise, this is the first time I can say I'm not sure what they're going to do gameplay-wise, and I don't know that they're going to do much, because I think, at least from their perspective, they've addressed most of the things gameplay-wise that they wanted to already. They've adjusted the zones multiple times. They just finished with this last update doing the last tweak to the zones that they wanted to do, at least from what they've said. Right, they've adjusted the run game at least to an extent. I mean, it's still easy to run the ball, but you know, they've done a few things in there to kind of help combat it a little bit. I mean, they could still honestly do more, but I don't think they're looking to do more. They just added a bunch of new plays, so I don't think we're going to get new plays at least for another month or two, because they're going to do multiple playbook updates, and this being the big one that they finally did, I don't think we're going to see another big one at least until, like I said, another month or two. So I don't know what to say they're going to do gameplay-wise. I'm sure there's going to be little tweaks and things that they adjust here and there, but I think they've nailed most of the big things that they wanted to nail with gameplay. Now, player likeness is something I expect to be a big focus on the next update, because we have not had a big player likeness update in at least about a month now. They did Greg Olsen's player likeness with that previous update last week, but it's the only guy they did, and usually when they do player likeness, they do it in batches. They do like 10 to 20 guys, so there's still a bunch of guys that they do have face scans for that aren't in the game currently, and there's plenty of people that they need to get face scans for that they might have. We just don't know, who all they have face scans for. So I'm expecting a big player likeness update, definitely with the next update that's coming out. Equipment is another thing to be on the lookout for. Not sure which update, but you have to, think they've done a pretty good job at getting extra equipment in the game this year. They just got all the neck rolls and the neck pads and things like that in that people wanted. A ton of new face masks, got a new helmet in the game. But they also mentioned at the beginning of the year that things like, different socks, the moving of the towel, and even mouthpieces, they didn't rule that out for this year. They didn't say it was a definite. They didn't promise it, but they didn't rule it out. They said it's something they want to try to get in. And since we've seen them get other equipment in the game multiple times this year, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to see those things come to the game. We just have to kind of wait and see. X factors and abilities, I definitely think we're going to be seeing an update for this as well, because again, it's been a while since we've seen You know, they said a few times a year, but maybe about 5 times throughout the year, they were going to adjust X factors. And I think so far we've really only seen them do that one big time. We've seen them do it twice technically, but once was just because Andrew Luck retired, so they just kind of took his away and gave it to somebody else on the Colts. But other than that, there was only one other update where we saw people really lose, like multiple people lose X factors and multiple people gain X factors. So now's a really good time to do this, especially because you got guys like Myles Garrett, for example. He's suspended indefinitely. He's going to lose his X factor. Somebody like Phillip Rivers having just a really bad year, he's probably going to lose his X factor. And there's a few other guys that are kind of falling in line with that as well. Lamar Jackson is probably without a doubt the first guy in line to get one at this point because of just how ridiculous he's been over the last few weeks. I mean, the season as a whole, but the last few weeks he's like really turning it up even more. He's a leading MVP candidate. He's absolutely getting an X factor with that next update. Jamal Adams probably as well, I think, would be getting an X factor. So there's multiple guys you got to be looking at that definitely are going to be gaining and losing. And then in terms of just abilities alone, you know, there's going to be some new superstar players coming. I think a guy like Marlon Humphrey is definitely got to be near the top of that list to at least get a superstar ability, maybe even an X factor as well. He's been one of the best cornerbacks in the league by far this year. Still doesn't have anything, so I would expect him to be a guy that's in the running for that as well. And of course, there's some other names. I'm not going to just name off everybody, but expect a new X Factor / ability update with this next update, and potentially maybe even new abilities in general, because we've seen them do that multiple times this year. So there could be some new abilities or some new X Factors joining the game as well. So that's about all for today. Just wanted to keep you guys up to date. Let me know what you think below, and as always, I will see you guys next time.